Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. Welcome to another session of Survivors Paradise. I am Paula Ilochi.
I'm Shay Lorick.
And we are bringing you another YouTube session from Texas and Belgium. So it's another example of how you can still be connected in the wake of this coronavirus situation that's happening. So I'm so excited you guys came to join us today. So let's get deep. We are going to talk about narcissistic personality disorder. What exactly is that? What is NPD? So, Shay, would you like to start and give us let's dig deep into what is this?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to actually read from the DSM-5. So I'm going to read the official definition of narcissistic personality disorder. I'm also going to kind of read a little bit of antisocial personality disorder, because these two do overlap, and many times the person with narcissistic personality disorder will also exhibit some traits of antisocial. So I wanted to kind of give both definitions as we delve into this topic. So first, narcissistic personality disorder. It's a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, a need for admiration, a lack of empathy, and I'm highlighting lack of empathy because we'll talk more about that a little bit later, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts as indicated by 5 or more of the following. So I'm going to read 9 criteria, and a person with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, would have to meet 5 of those 9 in order to be given this diagnosis. So number 1 is has a grandiose sense of self-importance. So they exaggerate achievements and talents. They expect to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. As I move along, I think you will notice that singularly, these may be common in just about anybody. But again, it's them in concert. So you need 5 together to say that somebody has the disorder. So we want to delineate between somebody that's narcissistic versus somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder. I think at any given point in time, we might all say, oh, I've had a sense of self-importance, or my talents, or whatever, one or 2 of these. But when somebody is exhibiting 5 or more of these traits, then we would give them this disorder.
That's good to know.
So number 2, with that caveat, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Number 3, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. Number 4 requires excessive admiration. Don't we know about that one?
Know all about that one.
Number 5 has a sense of self-entitlement, so unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Woo. Number 6 is interpersonally exploitative. So, for example, takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. Number 7, lacks empathy. So is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 8 is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. And then number 9 shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So as you can see, again, 5 of those 9 need to be met in any, arrangement. Real quickly, I'm going to give you the definition for antisocial personality disorder. It's also a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others, occurring since age 15 years old, as indicated by 3 or the following. So these are 7 criteria. Failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrests. Number 2, deceitful, as indicated by repeated lying, I'm laughing because this is just also
Lying is
use of aliases or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. Number 3, impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. Number 4, irritability and aggressiveness as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. Number 5, reckless disregard for the safety of self or others. Number 6, consistent irresponsibility as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations. And then number 7 is a lack of remorse as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from others.
Wow. They do have a lot of similarities.
They have a lot of similarities, and I think that these abusers have a cluster of both of these.
Yeah.
So I think that's why many people kind of combine it and call it narcissistic, pathology or antisocial narcissistic disorder or abuse, because they display a lot of the traits of both.
They do. And if you were to look and say, what exactly is the main difference between the two? What would you say would be the biggest difference?
Well, I think the ASPD seems to be more of a malignancy tied to that, because I think you can be have narcissistic personality disorder and not necessarily set out to, I would say, be malignant or evil or necessarily so aggressive toward other people, but it also comes on a range.
Yeah.
So there are some narcissistic personality disorder people that, you know, don't necessarily go out and harm others. There are some that definitely harm other people, and there are some that exhibit both traits that are also, you know, narcissistic, but also antisocial.
Right.
I just think there's too much overlap to kind of delineate.
Yeah, there's so much overlap, because I'm thinking, in my experience, I've seen both on both lists.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here like, okay, wait, so which one is it?
Which one? Because I'm looking at this list, and I would say out of 9 of 9 off of the NPD and 7 of 7 on the ASPD, like this person exhibited both traits of both disorders.
I would have to agree with my experience as well. Let's talk about, and I know you listed a lot of things, but I know what really stood out to me was the lying.
Girl.
The lying is the underlying bullet or weapon in almost every part of this list, because the lying goes into gaslighting, the lying goes into invalidation. It's to the point where when you get finished with that relationship, you step away, you go no contact, you go Great Rock, whatever your situation is, you almost have to unlearn everything they told you about you, because you realize you've been fed lies. You know, it's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a big, you'll walk away being like, well, maybe I am sensitive. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm so terrible that I attract this kind of energy. You have to
you're right. I mean, really, the lie, everything else comes out of the lie. Really, all you guys do is say they're liars.
I like to say,
their whole existence, first of all, is a lie. They don't truly have their own personality, so they mimic the personality of those, especially the victims that they come in contact with.
Right.
In order to, you know, do this, draw in this predatory behavior, they have to mimic something. And because they are basically soulless and don't have that personality going, they draw from everybody else's. And so really their lives are a lie. They wear this mask and you don't see that there's nothing underneath.
Well, that explains the addiction. Oftentimes people with this issue will have addiction to pornography, alcohol use, drug use, something to fill a void. They can be serial cheaters. You know, it's like you said, and they are looking for this supply to fill this void, but we're never enough. And I think that's the hardest thing, because they typically go after people who are loyal. Like, absolutely. I mean, maybe there can be two narcissists together. I don't know for how long, but from my experience, they typically go after someone who's like, I'm going to be a ride or die. I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to be there right by you. Let's do counseling together. Let me help you be better while you tear me down. It's like that's the kind of people they're attracted to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because how else are they able to, for lack of better terms, go in for the kill? Yeah. They, first of all, that mimicking behavior, they're able to have this, for maybe a short time, this semblance that they are normal, non-disordered, functional people. And during that time, we talked last time about the love bombing stages of when they're really trying to get you, and they're really, you know, going overboard to have this persona, to have this appearance that they are the best thing that has ever happened to you. And so once they get in and they realize, okay, this person is a very loving person, they're the opposite of this, because again, NPD, they lack empathy, but they see that you are empathic. They see that you are caring, you are forgiving, you are this light. And they know that because they study behavior, in order to mimic behavior, that they can disarm you and, you know, use these tactics and these defense mechanisms in order to gain control of you. And they do that first by gaining, you know, your trust, and gaining that sense of, you build that confidence in them that they are truly a worthy person. And before you know it, you know, you're in love with them. Yeah. And that's when they change. It happens really quickly in the grand scheme of things. When you look back, it may be several months, but really that's a short time, because they can't wear the mask too long. They have to be who they are.
Well, and they smother you with this fake belief of who they are. They don't really give you a chance to digest what's really happening until you're too deep into it. And just to kind of go back to what you said about the feeling of I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you, I was actually told that. Like, I'm the best person you've ever met. I'm the best person you've ever been with. And I'm thinking, if you're the best person I've ever been with, but you're constantly lying, cheating, having addictions, you know, like, what's the next level down from the best? That can't be normal. But it goes with a grandiose belief, and which is so, you guys can imagine, and if you've dealt with this or if you're dealing with this, how confused that makes the supply, victim, other partner, whatever name you want to give it. Because here's a person who you love telling you they love you while they're doing terrible things to you, but then also telling you, you know, you're too sensitive, you're not taking a joke, you know, I'm just joking with you, why are you so upset? And also saying I'm the best thing that happened to you. So it's very confusing.
It is confusing, and it's hard to even explain to those that have not been through it. I remember last time you asked me the question, as I was telling some of the things, you know, why did you put up with that? And I think I ended with, I didn't. But I didn't for that time. Yeah. You know, I had cut him off because of, you know, whatever the behavior was, and had gone a month, and this is before we got married, without talking to him. And, you know, I didn't, I'm sorry, we had a little glitch. But I didn't know that this person was disordered in this way, or that they, I just knew that, I wasn't okay with what was going on. And I think at that time, just like if in any normal situation, if someone does something that you don't like, they might come back and say, I'm sorry, I want to try again, I'm going to, change this behavior. And for someone that is normal and thinking they're in a normal situation, they might say, okay, let's try again. I really do care about you, so I'll give you another chance. And so really giving them another chance says to them that they've hooked you.
Right.
It says to them that I can just say I'm sorry to this person and they'll be okay with my behavior. So after that, for several months, he did wear that mask, and it did appear that he had changed and that he had, reconciled whatever was going on within him that was causing that behavior. And then, like you said, the lies came after we were married, and he began to exhibit those signs again of, oh, this just happened, or this didn't happen like you think it happened. I would never do that.
Right.
But he did do that. And that's a hallmark thing as well. They like to always say, I'm not that person. I would never do that. But they did do that. So in your mind, you're seeing the behavior.
Right.
You're seeing the action, but they're telling you that, but I would never do that. I did this, but I would never do that. So it is crazy making. It's crazy making behavior, because then you're up and down. They love bomb you, and then they knock you off your pedestal by cheating on you or devaluing you, or telling you that you're no good, or telling you covertly that, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you wearing this? And to just kind of bring you back down that pedestal that they put you on. And they just keep knocking you off in order to put you back up there. Oh, you're the most beautiful thing in the world. And then when you do something that they don't like, oh, why are you wearing that? Why are you doing this? So it's just this up and down and up and down. And that literally is playing on your brain receptors. Brain receptors, like it's taking your brain up and down. And so that fight or flight, you're constantly in fight or flight mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's so interesting? In my situation, the more the apologies and the more wiser I got as far as, you're not changing. This is who you are. And I would flat out say, this is who you are. And then it became, then why do I even need to apologize to you? This is who I am. So then it shifted from, I'm so sorry, I'm never going to do this again. I want my family together, I want my family to work, to, you can't take my child from me.
Yes.
You do this, I'm going to do that. So then it became, so when the love bombing wouldn't keep me after a situation happened, that was not what a spouse or partner or significant other should do, then it turned into fear. If you do this, I'm going to do that. So now you're like, oh, okay, so I'm staying out of fear. So essentially, you're telling me I'm not going to stop. Yeah. In fact, I was told, I can't promise you that I'm going to stop doing X, Y, and Z. But what I do know is that you better not ever do this. If you leave, this will happen.
And so it's funny too, because we talk a lot back and forth about these different behaviors. Yeah. And I think the person that you were dealing with became extremely covert toward the end in their behaviors, as compared to the person I was dealing with was a lot more overtly. I mean, he definitely would shift back and forth into the covert behavior, but that it just is so interesting that You know, some of those with MPD and ASPD are more covert, so they're more, you know, kind of not so out loud with these behaviors. And then others are blatant, you know, yeah, I'm doing this, you know, but if you do, you know, I'm not going, if you do try to leave me, I'm going to take everything you have. I'm going to take your children. I'm going to take your life if I have to. So
I'm going to put you in a situation where you have to rely on me. And then when you need me, I'm going to remind you that you need me and that if I decide not to help you, I cannot help you. But also, while you're in a vulnerable situation, I'm going to tell you that you're lazy, that you don't do anything. You know, when you know that there's no other possibility to do anything, it's very much it's like being in a maze.
Yeah, it's no win. Yeah, no win. It's a no-win situation, and that's why every time the advice is run. Like the advice is run, because there is no being in a relationship with a person like this, whether they're overt, covert, both, twisted, untwisted. There is no being in a relationship with this person and having peace and not fearing and not walking on eggshells and not having, you know, mental health issues take place, not having physical health issues take place. There's so many different aspects of this. I don't even think we have time to talk about. I mean, you talked about the intimidation, you talked about the threats, the
physical boundaries, feeling like you can't go anywhere, feeling like you can't do anything. And then at the same time, they're like, I never keep you from doing what you want to do. Go ahead and have
No, you don't keep me, but you tell me, you know, you can go do this, but when I'm out there for 30 minutes, you're like, when are you coming back?
When are you coming back?
Who are you with? Oh, you're out there cheating. So it's a no.
As soon as you get home, or I was told, you know, okay, well, when I do the same thing, you better not say anything to me. After you have repeatedly, what do you mean, going out having a good time? Am I, you know, so then you start to keep the peace. I would just stay home. I don't do anything. You know, in my situation, there were times where I would be physically like in a car and he wants to pick an argument. You can't get out the car. You know, so then you start to feel trapped. You start to feel physically trapped on top of already being mentally trapped. And you get, I mean, there were times I would get into a space where I was like, I would just go in the room, a room, to shut the door by myself. I didn't want anyone in there with me. And you start to do behavior that you're like, I don't even know who I am. But I want to get away from you so badly and I don't know where to go. I'm just going to go in the bathroom. I'm going to sit in the car. You know, I would do anything to get out of that space that they create. And then when you finally, if you ever leave them, finally do, they're like, hey, come on back. Don't you want to be abused a bit more? I wasn't done. Because a lot of times they don't want it to be over until they say it's over. You disrupt that, because they're chaotic anyway, but their order is knowing that you're, you know what I mean? That's the only consistent thing in their life is their victim, their supply. So once you discard them, before they discard you, you got some other stuff you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
They don't need you because you don't need them.
And they can't be alone. They need the admiration. They need the attention. And so they've already got one in the pocket. They already have the next victim in the pocket. So if you do decide, and they can tell when you're deciding, when you're slipping out of the door. They can tell because, again, they are the masters of behavior. They watch. They understand, you know, when you're feeling a certain way without you even saying a word to them. And so they already start love bombing the next victim while you're with them.
It's almost like they can read your thoughts, which
absolutely.
If you guys haven't seen Invisible Man, perfect movie about this exact thing. I won't give any spoilers.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it yet.
It's exactly what we're talking about. It's like almost like I remember saying, I never said that. Well, I can tell you're thinking it. Really? So you can read my mind now?
And that was one of the worst things that ever happened was always making assumptions about what I'm thinking, what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And they would already be acting off of something that hadn't even been said yet.
Mm-hmm.
So going into a rage because, well, I know you're thinking that.
Yep.
Or holding you hostage. I've been held hostage in rooms, you know, because I didn't want to talk. I wanted to be silent because I didn't want to start a huge argument. But because I wouldn't talk about something, it's, oh, you're not going to leave this room until we talk.
Yep. I know what that's about. That's terrible.
And it's terrible. And you talked about that, like the feeling stuck, feeling as if you can't go anywhere, if you can't leave the situation because they've threatened you. They've told you, oh, well, I'm going to take your kids away from you. Oh, well, everybody's going to think, and because you're an empath, or because you, not even an empath, because you have empathy, you start to think, well, what are people going to say about me? What are people going to think about me? And you know, your viewers, you might be saying, you know, just leave or whatever. But when you're with somebody for years, and you've had this up and down behavior, and this, sometimes they're loving, which sometimes is the exact opposite, and it's usually no middle ground, your mind becomes crazy. I mean, you literally become really confused, most of the time depressed, and it ends in post-traumatic stress disorder. And that it's a very long road to recovery following even leaving them. So just imagine being in that situation. Imagine being in the situation and you don't have the mental resources because you're just constantly feeling threatened, constantly feeling on edge, constantly just, it's like their energy just surrounds you. Their energy is everywhere.
Yeah, that energy is so negative. You cannot, I would always say I could feel him in the house before I saw him. The energy was that stifling that I didn't even have to see you to know you were in the room, to know you were in the house. So when you're surrounded by that, it's very difficult to just pull yourself out of it. And God forbid that you're financially dependent on them.
Ooh,
so that's another reason. You know what I mean? For me, yeah, I had my own job and everything, but there were always situations in the household that required me to give more, and that kept me from fully being as financially dependent as I needed to be. And that was all by design. You know, when I left the situation, things cleared up financially. And I'm like, well, how did this happen?
Yeah, and literally all of this is by design. These are specific tactics designed to literally suck the life out of you and destroy you in every sense of your life, in every area. So I'm glad you brought the finances, because, you know, I was kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of, I'm, you know, the one that's the breadwinner pretty much. This person is going to school, they're getting their degree, but it was like, you know, you're done with your degree, what's happening now? And just the amount of money that they spend on themselves to keep up this appearance of, have this social status, I'm this, you know, I need to make myself beautiful. I mean, from cosmetic things to clothes to shoes to, you know, video games, and just all these superfluous things that were just unnecessary, you know, but they needed this to feel good, to feel like they were a valuable person, because really on the inside, I really don't think, and in my, you know, education, I've understood that these people don't really feel good about themselves on the inside. So they need to do all of these things. They need to control you. They need to have this sense of grandiosity and admiration. And they just literally begin to hoard things. They're so materialistic that they don't care about how they financially put you in financial straits in order to get it.
Right. They don't care. You know, in a situation where an average couple who are more healthy would say, hey, I got a bonus at work, I got extra money, we're working to pay off debt, we're tackling it together. Whereas in a non-healthy situation, it's about me. It's my money. It's my stuff. Oh, everything you have is also mine.
Absolutely.
Everything I have is also mine. Absolutely. And any conversation about money in my situation was always met with rage. It was met like money seems to be the anger, the driving force, despite everything else that we're dealing with. Money was the biggest issue in the relationship. It would be the reason that he would pick arguments, the reason that he would storm out, the reason he would justify infidelity, whatever it was. It was always at root. So I remember thinking, okay, well, if I make more money, let me do this job. Let me do this on the side. Let me start making more so that that'll alleviate the argument. It never did, because when I started getting to the point that I was paying off my debt, something that an average partner would be excited about, it was met with, oh, you're trying to take care of yourself and set yourself up to leave me. That you're trying to use me to leave me. And I'm like, well, I thought we were in this together. So it's like they already, because they're so paranoid, they already have this idea in their mind that I'm jealous. I don't want you to be better than me. I want to be better than you. I don't want you to have the upper hand.
Yes.
But also while I'm doing this, I'm over here doing my own thing with these other people over here. But don't you be doing anything.
Don't you do it. And it's always
paranoia.
It's always that projection.
Yeah.
Too, and that it's always the projection, because they're always doing something with somebody else in the background.
Yep.
And so anytime you do want to go out with your friend for coffee for an hour, it's, oh, I bet you were out with somebody else. I bet you're cheating.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Or
especially
when I hang out with you all of a sudden, they're trying to mess up a happy home. I've heard that before.
It's like, you know, I'm here, I'm either working or I'm home. Simply because I don't want to hear your mouth. Right. And then the minute I do want to go out, you know, this person really, anytime I wanted to go somewhere, needed to go with me. And,
wow.
and it was just this constant, like, you're just constantly at every event that I need to go to, at every, you know, if I'm going out one-on-one with a friend, he's joining me. And I'm just like, wow. You just get tired of it. But the moment you start to speak up about it, it's, let me start a fight. Let me go into a rage. You know, let me blame shift it and turn it around on, but what about you and what you did and what you said? And it's never an opportunity to be able to speak honestly, or to be able to connect with your partner, or to be able to, you know, share something, or just be open. And I remember saying repeatedly for at least the last 4 years of the relationship, I just want peace. I just want peace. And I said it to the person, I just want peace. And it was like, that was even a mistake for me on my end, because it was like, the more I would say that I wanted these positive things, the more that person would do the opposite. Yep. The more that they wanted to destroy me, the more that they were doing things that I'm just now finding out that happened. It's like, you knew that I just wanted a loving relationship. You knew that I just wanted a happy family, but you did everything in your power to give me the opposite. And when you say the opposite can be so minute. I'll give you an example. I was big on bath products, lotions, things like that. He would use all of my body wash within a week. A big thing of body wash. And I would even start buying him stuff. Hey, this is for you. I'm gonna get you 2 or 3 since you like it so much. Please do not use my things. And he would use it anyway. So it was that simple of no boundary. As simple as, can you not touch this? Oh, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. Hey, can you call me at 3? I'm gonna call you at 3:30. It was that, like, just, you know, the microaggression that over time will drive you crazy, because you have no order. It's nothing but chaos. But they want every command of theirs to be met. Yes. And honestly, it fuels them for that smear campaign. So when they're doing their dirt and they know you're not doing anything, they know you're being loyal. So in my opinion, it's almost like it helps them justify their evil by being able to look at you and say, see, I was told that I was controlling because I didn't like the infidelity, or I wouldn't drop it.
or because I kept saying, can you not be on social media commenting on everyone's things?
Yeah.
You cannot do that. All you want to do is control me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it flips back into me. And then you might hear later on down the road from other people, well, I heard she was controlling. Well, yeah, you told me you didn't do anything around the house. You just sat around and just waited for him to give you money, or I'm ungrateful, so, but that's why it's important to, from the beginning, what we said to you guys was I say 90% is a lie and 10% is a fabricated truth. Everything's gonna be a lie.
It's a lie. It's just a lie. Lie.
You just have to unlearn.
Lie, because it's all manipulation. That's lie. What do we have on here? Invalidation. That's a lie. Triangulation. Telling me something about somebody else has said about me when knowing they haven't said this, he was the one feeding them the information about me. Lie. All these different things. Lying about, cheating. Well, I only was flirting. Well, knowing they had full-blown sex. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, just
finding receipts of gifts you're buying people. Oh, that was for a project I'm doing. A side hustle I had. I had to buy it for the okay.
Lie.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you experienced this one, but it was like they would tell me the story, and then later on they would like to repeatedly tell me the stories again, but with the more of the truth. And I'm like, well, last time you told me this story, you said this. Oh, but to be honest with you, that's another thing they like to say. But to be honest with you, it's gonna be a lie that follows. It's just, but with all this, with all these chaotic things and things that we will never be able to talk about because it will take hours and hours, thousands of hours of video. They are still so predictable. Yeah. And that's why the DSM can so succinctly, identify the behaviors, because all of these people, if you line them up and you line up their partners or their, the people, their friends or whoever deals with them, they'll be able to identify specifically the same characteristics, and they'll be able to say, hey, well, he does that. And just like you and I keep going back and forth, they are so predictable. Like their behaviors are so predictable. And that's why we were able to, after a couple of years, say, no, you're lying because blah, 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 blah. And that's why they begin to be so covert with it, because they know that we know them now. I would tell him all the time, I know you. I know you're a manipulator. But it was like, that was me accepting it. Just because I was calling it out for him, it was like, oh, okay, now I can really do this, like you said before, because she knows me. And basically, he sees that as me accepting him for who he is. Not me, and then he would lie again and say, I promise to change, I promise. And then you're like, okay, well, socialization or religion or whatever tells you, well, let me forgive him again. And it's just a cycle of repeated samenities, if that's even a word. The same thing just keeps repeating over and over and over.
Me, and myself marketing, because I knew I couldn't change him. I knew I had to get out, but I knew I couldn't get out just then. So then it became, just don't embarrass me. Can we agree on just like,
that's not even possible. That's not possible.
Yeah, but how crazy is it that you get to that point in your relationship where you say, can you not cheat? Can you not be disrespectful to me? Can you not be mean? Just don't embarrass me. Can't even do that.
That's not even possible.
They don't like you.
The only answer, and I used to say that even in my practice, and I still really don't to this extent, not to most couples. And I used to say I would never tell somebody to get a divorce or to leave someone. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, a person that seems, because they don't really get diagnosed either, because they have no insight. So they're not going to go into a therapist. And if they do go to the therapist, is, oh, I'm depressed. I'm dealing with stuff that everybody else is doing to me, or my marriage is falling apart. But if you're dealing with somebody with these traits, you might as well just forget it, because
Yeah.
they do, there's no cure. And as a therapist, I'm telling you, there's no cure for personality disorders. So the advice is to leave and do so safely. There's so many different organizations that you can connect with, domestic violence organizations that you can help, they can help you create a safety plan, but you have to, the reality is, run.
You have to go. And every city that you're in is going to have a safe line. They're going to have a victim advocate. They're going to have someone who you can speak to. And like I said earlier, that was my whole job. My whole job was to get victims the counseling they needed, non-clinical, have safety measures in place, financial measures, all of that, and get them to safety. So every state you're in is going to have that. And if you notice, we don't mention descriptors. We don't say names. We don't say anything that would really let you know who the person we are talking about is, because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because it could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be.
It's all the same.
And there's so many people dealing with this. You know, it seems like more and more. You know, I think even we're dealing with this on a national level. You know, I think it's becoming systemic, you know, as far as NPD and being abused by a person with NPD. Narcissistic abuse is really, because it's like trickling down from the highest of leadership. But there's no, you know, face or name or poverty point or level of socioeconomic status. Like, anybody can deal with this. Yeah. Anybody.
Yeah. So, wow. I think we have really touched a lot on what NPD is, what it looks like, even personal examples of it. So if you're here and you're watching this video and you feel like this is something you are dealing with, we have our email address there. Feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to follow that email in the link below the video. We would happily help you with a safety plan, clinical counseling as well. Just, we don't want you to ever feel like you're doing this alone, because they isolate you and they make you feel like no one cares, no one can help you, and no one can love you the way they love you. So thank you so much for tuning in again. I know many of you, well, you should be at home, hopefully, so that we can, you know, this whole social distancing movement. But thank you for taking the time to watch. Make sure, please, to subscribe so you can be alert for any new videos that are coming up. And I give you an opportunity if you want to say anything before we close.
No, thank you, Paula, for just expounding on this topic. Like she said, subscribe, like, share this link with other people. We just want to spread the word. If our stories can help somebody else, then we are pleased. So,
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys. Until next time.
Bye.